Okay, so here's the recipe for my I can't cook, but this is delicious tomato soup. I was so surprised at how many of you requested my soup recipe when I mentioned it in my Day in the Life Interrupted video. So today I'd like to share the recipe, along with a few reflections on how food has always been a complicated factor in my life. Hi, I'm Susan, and welcome to the channel. Now, the funny part is I am not a good cook. I never have been. I get by. I am completely unqualified to teach anyone anything that happens in a kitchen. I can only make suggestions, and you can take them or use your better judgment. When I was married, I was not the cook. My Polish husband, who learned from his food is love Polish mother, ruled the kitchen. I knew my place, and I stayed out of his domain. More on that later. But since living on my own, cooking has actually become enjoyable, or at least satisfying. There's no pressure, no expectations, just me making something that I want, how I want. And for the first time, it's kind of fun. So let's make the soup. I call it my I can't cook, but it's delicious tomato soup. Start with two 28-ounce cans of tomatoes. I like fire roasted, but I accidentally bought one with basil this time, and honestly, it might be even better. That's kind of my approach with cooking. Not too many rules, just go with the flow. Next, add 4 cups of broth. Chicken, beef, vegetable, whatever you choose is the right choice. Then add about a cup of cream or milk, or in my case, cashew milk, something to give it a little body and richness. Now a can of chickpeas. I love adding them because they make the soup heartier and add protein. You could use lentils, beans, or skip them all together. Totally your call. I usually rinse mine and peel off some of those little outer skins, but I don't make a career out of it. If I'm pureeing the soup, I'll be fussier about it. If not, I just toss them in. For seasoning, I use Garlic Plus. It's got garlic, red pepper, salt, pepper, and parsley, plus a bit of onion powder and basil. No measuring, just whatever looks good, but if I had to say, probably about a tablespoon of each. Then I let it all simmer for about 15 minutes. Everyone gets to know each other in the pot. After that, I use my immersion blender to thicken things up a bit. It makes the soup really hearty and very nice and creamy. What I did today was I split the soup in 2. To one half, I'll add cooked pasta, and then I'll serve it with some grated Parmesan and some crunchy croutons. To the other half, I'll add rice, and today I thought I'd add chicken. And I'll serve it with crusty baguette pieces and a sprinkle of everything bagel seasoning. Honestly, why didn't I think of adding that right into the soup when I was cooking it? Next time I'm going to do that. I love using this handy rice steamer. Just add 2 parts liquid. In this case, I used the same broth I used in the soup, and 1 part uncooked rice. You just press the button and it pops up when the rice is done to perfection. It doesn't get any easier than that. And there you have it, 2 cozy versions of I can't cook, but this is delicious tomato soup. I change it up every time I make it, depending on what I have and what I'm in the mood for. It's hearty and healthy and lasts me for most of the week. I never learned how to cook from my mom. Her mom, my grandma, was an amazing cook, but Mom just wasn't interested. Her passion was her horses. She could whip up a fantastic grain mash for them, but when it came to us, she basically cooked what my dad wanted. And what Dad wanted was not what 4 kids would want. Mealtime in our house wasn't exactly joyful. The 6 of us ate mostly in silence. There was no, how was your day? Did you do anything fun today? We just tried to get through the meal without setting Dad off. And what would set him off would be not eating what was on your plate or playing with your food, which was me trying to hide a lima bean in some mashed potatoes so I wouldn't taste the lima bean. My siblings were blessed in that they could tolerate and eat mostly what was in front of them, but me and my gag reflex were not so lucky. Mom mostly made boiled potatoes, a vegetable, and some sort of meat that Dad liked. It wasn't a varied menu, but the worst offenders for me were onions, most vegetables, including those seasoned green French beans from a can and slimy lima beans from a can. My mother was a kind and loving woman, and I can only surmise that she had to make these things because Dad wanted them. But for me, they were intolerable. But I wasn't allowed to leave the table until I had eaten them. My siblings could attest to the fact that I spent many nights alone at the kitchen table, staring down my dinner. Eventually, I got creative. It was probably one of my siblings that helped me come up with the idea. Once Dad was asleep on the couch, I would shove the offending food into one of my pockets and then go flush it down the toilet. Risky business, but survival instincts are strong. Because of this, I swore I'd never make my kids eat anything they didn't want, and I never did. And they both grew up just fine, adventurous eaters, in fact. My daughter is actually a vegan, so even though nary a vegetable crossed her lips as a child, here she is, eating only vegetables. So she worked it out on her own, without childhood food trauma. As I mentioned earlier, when I was married, my husband was the cook in our house, and he was a very, very good cook, but a very particular one. He believed in cooking everything from scratch, no shortcuts, no gadgets. On the few occasions that I did cook, he very begrudgingly ate it. My attempts in the kitchen never lived up to his standards, so I stopped trying. I'm not talking smack here. If he were watching this, and I'm pretty sure he's not, he would have to agree with my statement that he very begrudgingly ate whatever I cooked. But when he was away, the kids and I would have our very own mummy meals. I had a few meals in my repertoire, simple, comfy, nothing fancy, but they loved them. And to this day, they still ask for those dishes. What are your favorite meals? Did you grow up in a house with good food, and do you have good food memories? Or is it complicated like my situation? So if there's one takeaway from this video, it should be this. Food should never be used as a weapon or a punishment or something that makes you feel less than. It doesn't have to be fancy or perfectly plated. It just has to make you feel good. As we get older, I think we've earned the right to eat on our own terms. What we like, what nourishes us, what brings us comfort. So here's 2 simple recipes, peace in the kitchen, and finding joy in feeding ourselves. With no rules, no judgment, and maybe even a little joy along the way. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm so glad that you did. I hope your day is filled with peace and positivity, and at least one food that you absolutely love to eat. Until next time, take care.